There's a specific kind of tired that doesn't show up on any medical chart. It's not the kind you fix with a good night's sleep or a weekend off. It's the kind that settles into your chest somewhere around your late 20s or early 30s, quietly, without announcement. And it feels a lot like letting go of something you never officially decided to hold on to in the first place. If you're a millennial, there's a good chance you know exactly what I'm talking about. Not because you're weak, not because you failed, but because somewhere along the way, without any big dramatic moment, you just stopped believing in the dream. And I don't mean you woke up one morning and declared, "That's it, I quit." It wasn't that clean. It was more like slowly turning down the volume on a song you used to love, until one day you realize you can't even remember the melody. That's what psychologists call passive disengagement, and it's far more common than the headlines about hustle culture would have you believe. Here's the thing about the American dream. It was never really a plan. It was a feeling, a promise handed down through Saturday morning cartoons, graduation speeches, and parents who genuinely believed that if you worked hard enough, bought the house, got the degree, put in the hours, the universe would reward you on schedule. Millennials were probably the most promise-saturated generation in history. You were told with complete sincerity that you could be anything. Anything. And you believed it, because why wouldn't you? The adults said so. But then you graduated into a recession, you took on student debt to buy a ticket to a party that had already ended, you worked unpaid internships because experience was the new salary, you watched housing prices climb out of reach like a balloon you let go of as a kid. You can still see it, you just can't touch it anymore. And here's where the psychology gets really interesting. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that when a person experiences repeated failure to achieve goals despite sustained effort, the brain doesn't just get sad, it recalibrates. It starts to quietly revise what's possible, what's worth wanting, what the point even is. Martin Seligman, one of the most influential psychologists of the last century, studied something he called learned helplessness. Originally observed in animal behavior, the concept is devastatingly simple. When a living being experiences enough situations where their effort has no impact on the outcome, they stop trying, even when trying would actually work. They've learned at a deep neurological level that effort is futile. Now, I'm not saying millennials are helpless, not even close, but there's a quieter, subtler version of this that plays out in adults who've been running on broken promises for long enough. It's not that they give up on life, they give up on the specific script they were handed, and that is a very different thing. Think about it this way. Imagine you've been following a GPS that keeps rerouting you. Every single time you get close to your destination, it recalculates. After the seventh or eighth time, something shifts in your brain. You stop fully trusting the directions. You start hedging. You make peace with uncertainty in a way that looks from the outside like apathy, but on the inside feels more like self-protection. Psychologists call this adaptive preference formation. Basically, your mind reframes desire to protect you from repeated disappointment. It's not weakness. It's actually the brain doing exactly what it's designed to do. But here's what nobody talks about in those millennials are killing, insert industry here, think pieces. The quiet giving up doesn't look like failure. It looks like a really nice apartment you're renting indefinitely. It looks like choosing experiences over equity. It looks like a job that's good enough and a personal project on the side that keeps the soul from going completely dark. It looks, sometimes, like radical contentment, and that confuses people who were raised to measure life in milestones. A 2022 Pew Research study found that a growing number of millennials have consciously deprioritized homeownership, not because they don't want stability, but because the goalposts moved so many times they stopped running toward them. And here's the twist. Many reported higher life satisfaction after making that mental shift. When you stop outsourcing your sense of worth to a system that was never designed with you in mind, something unexpected happens. You start designing something of your own. So what does this mean for you, sitting here, maybe recognizing pieces of yourself in this? It means that the thing you might call giving up could actually be something more honest, something more human. Psychologist Carol Dweck talks about the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, but there's a third option she doesn't name explicitly, the released mindset, the one where you stop gripping a version of success that was never really yours to begin with and start asking a more dangerous, more exciting question: what do I actually want? Because here's the truth about millennials who quietly stepped away from the dream. They didn't stop dreaming. They stopped dreaming someone else's dream, and that takes more courage than it looks like from the outside. The system called it failure. The brain called it adaptation. But maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of something more authentic than the promise could ever have been. If any of this resonated with you, if you felt that particular exhale of recognition somewhere in the middle, I'd love to know in the comments. What did your version of quietly letting go look like, and what did you find on the other side of it? Because I think there are more of us than the algorithms want to count, and understanding why we feel what we feel is always the first step toward choosing what comes next. If you want more content like this, the kind that takes what's happening in your head and puts language to it, subscribe and come back. There's a lot more worth talking about.